if you are trying to reverse engineer your business growth, meaning you start with the revenue goal, you work backwards into the strategy, and then you hope you can fit everything else in, your family, your faith, your calling, the actual life that you are meant to live, this is probably where things are going wrong. And I get it because we're all told to reverse engineer it. I have done it for years and there's a time and a place for it, but I'm telling you, you're going to want to hear this video. That order, it feels logical. It's exactly what creates instability, pressure, that sense that you're always behind no matter how well things are going. And when I finally stopped building from outcomes first and started building from faith and identity and real life first, even in my moments of wanting to achieve it all in business, my business didn't shrink. Like everyone warned me it would. It stabilized, it got cleaner, it got more clear, and then it scaled from a much healthier place. And my quality of life in all other categories of my life started to finally thrive versus feeling completely depleted. So if you've been told that doing it that way, right? Choosing how you're going to put God first and slowing down to give yourself enough time to gain that clarity and reflect and identify what is really for you. If you've been told that that's playing small or taking a step back or lowering your expectations, I want to show you why it hasn't been my experience at all and why the order you build in matters more than the goals you set. Hey, I'm Liz. We just had our 6th little kiddo. I am homeschooling mom and I run a thriving business. I'm a mentor to founders and high achievers and entrepreneurs, helping them build businesses that give more than they take from their lives so you can step fully into your big next, your calling with integrity and tact. This conversation is for anyone who has ambition, but also has faith and a low tolerance for pretending those two things are supposed to live in separate compartments. I think there's a tension that a lot of faith-first entrepreneurs live in. And here's what I see all the time, especially with people who have that strong connection to God and who are actually serious about leadership and not just running a hobby, a side gig. On one hand, you genuinely want to honor God with what you're building. We say that. We mean that when we say it. You don't want your business to hollow you out or turn you into someone you don't recognize or just start to edge out your faith out of the picture because things got too busy. You don't want those things. On the other hand, though, you are hella ambitious. You want growth. You want income. You want influence. You want the business to thrive and work. You want revenue and profitability. You're not interested in playing small or pretending that ambition is a character flaw. This is you to the core. And somewhere in the middle of that, there is this tension that starts to form. And you start second guessing your decisions. You hesitate longer than you need to. You start to feel guilty about wanting more and then guilty for not wanting more badly enough. And you oscillate between the two. And eventually decision-making gets mighty heavy for you and very exhausting. Not because you're confused. Everything feels spiritually loaded to you. And that is where I see a lot of people start to burn out or stall out or swing the pendulum really hard in one direction just to make the discomfort stop. That's what I did for years. And what I found out is the issue isn't faith versus growth. It's the order of the two. So to me, order changes everything. Putting God first in business doesn't mean you stop caring about results. It means you stop asking results to tell you who you are at an identity level. And that is the shift. I did a video on this. You're going to want to check it out. It's a really powerhouse one on order and hierarchy in your life so that you can thrive in all categories of it. When God comes first, growth doesn't disappear. It gets repositioned really intentionally, and it's actually given space to happen. And the key is the right growth will happen. Because if you don't do what I'm about to talk about, what happens is you'll grow in the areas that don't matter. You'll grow and it will feel vapid and empty. You will grow and then move right on to the next growth thing because the previous growth thing didn't satisfy. When you do it this way, it becomes something you steward instead of something you chase. And that minor tweak really does change everything about how you lead. This is where I see a lot of people get it twisted. This is where I've seen a lot of my clients struggle over the years, because a lot of people assume that faith-first leadership means passive leadership, slow leadership, leadership that's kind of allergic to scale because scale is a bad thing. What it actually does is give you a much more clear internal compass, and it makes you more decisive, not less decisive. And when you are decisive, the amount of energy you preserve is uncanny. You are closing loops, making decisions, and you're making the decisions that are taking you into the life you're actually meant to live versus the one you're just strong arming right now. One of the most practical ways I see this show up is in that identity piece. When your identity is anchored to who you are in Christ, outcomes stop carrying emotional weight. A good month doesn't make you feel invincible. A hard month doesn't make you question everything that you're building. Decisions stop being driven by panic or pressure or reactivity because you're not trying to use the business to prove anything about yourself anymore. And that alone removes this shocking amount of internal friction that a lot of entrepreneurs feel. I have seen so many people, hello, myself included, in the mirror, exhaust themselves, not because their strategy was wrong. They were asking for growth to validate them and reassure them and make them feel safe and seen. Growth is a terrible God. It is demanding and inconsistent. It never is satisfied. But faith-first leadership doesn't make you less ambitious. It makes your ambition cleaner, and you get to feel that satisfaction in your growth, in the right growth. When God comes before growth, I feel like striving loses its appeal. And that might scare some of my 3 on the Enneagram high achieving types. If you've taken my free leadership style assessment for my trailblazers and my luminaries, you might hear that and be like, oh gosh, I don't want to stop striving. I love striving. I thrive in striving. I get it. I am a trailblazer. I am a 3 on the Enneagram. I understand that feeling. If you haven't taken the assessment, it's linked in the description. Make sure you go take it. It's so helpful for what we're talking about today to really understand your leadership style. It doesn't mean you stop working hard. It doesn't mean you stop achieving. It means that your effort is concentrated and directed instead of massively frantic and fractured. And you're not grasping for the next thing out of fear that if you don't, that everything's going to fall apart, or you're going to be found out, or that you're not going to be validated in the ways that you think you need to or want to. And growth becomes something that you are responsible for, not something that you're so desperate for. There's a big difference between those two energies and what those two energies create in your life. One creates clarity, the other creates chaos. And I've learned that if my business feels perpetually urgent, that's not a calling issue. It's a leadership issue. It's on me. Chaos is not proof that God is in something, and peace is not proof that you're doing it wrong. It's actually quite the opposite. And when we put God first, that doesn't mean you replace strategy with prayer. We're not talking about manifesting your dreams into existence. It means prayer informs your strategy instead of being something you do after the fact to feel better about decision that you already made. And discernment is what keeps you from copying other people's models just because they look successful from the outside. And it's what allows you to say that might be working for them, but it's not for me. And that has probably saved me more time and money and energy than any business framework ever has. And it's how I serve my clients. When you hire a mentor or a coach, or you join a mastermind, or you even just like read someone's book or watch their videos, and they tell you there is a one-size-fits-all methodology for achievement, and there is a one-size-fits-all process as to how you're going to grow your business successfully, run. It is not true. I tell all of my clients all the time, I'm going to bring you strategies, right? And those strategies are proven. They are strategies I've used to help entrepreneurs make millions and millions of dollars. But we have to then dissect that strategy and figure out a how and a timeline and a process that aligns with your reality, aligns with how God is asking you to do it and the season that you're in. And you, only you can spiritually discern what is right for you. I cannot. So I've taught them how to take what I teach them and put it through their filter and through their discernment so that it can align with that calling, that it can align with what God has for them in that season. It can align with their reality in their life. When you stop comparing your calling to someone else's process or highlight reel, you get to build something that actually fits your life instead of something that headbutts your life every day. Then you wonder why you have a headache, why this is so hard. You don't have to retrofit yourself into a model that was really never designed for you. Sometimes that means growing slower, even maybe slower than you technically could. Other times it means growing faster because you're finally not fighting yourself every step of the way. This might be the most, countercultural thing I'll say in this video. Peace is one of my KPIs. It's one of my top KPIs, and I'm an achiever. I like seeing metrics. I'm not talking about comfort. I'm not talking about ease. I'm talking about peace. It is very different. It is divinely orchestrated. It is spiritual. If a decision consistently produces anxiety or chaos for me, or this just internal knowing that it's off, or it has a weight to it that just isn't right, not hard, like it'll be a challenge. I like challenge. I pay close attention to those things. I'm not afraid of hard things. I know that heavy, chaotic things are not from God. And peace has become a very reliable indicator of alignment for me. Now, it's a little harder for my team to track that KPI. It's on me. That one's on me. But I've learned to trust that God is not going to lead me through perpetual confusion and make it feel like faith. And it doesn't mean that every decision feels super calm or tidy or perfect. It just means there's this underlying sense of rightness for me that holds even when the work is really challenging. There have been plenty of moments in my own business where when I can stay faithful and choose that obedience to what God's calling me to over the urgency that is screaming in my face, even though it didn't make sense on paper and didn't look impressive from the outside, in those moments where I can make that choice and choose that order over pressure, massive clarity has followed. And I'm able to see why He's doing things the way He's doing them in my life. It's not always immediate. Actually, it's usually not immediate. And it's usually not the way I expected, but consistently enough, that's a pattern I can trust now. So if you feel really torn between honoring God and growing your business, I don't think the solution is necessarily to want less. I think the solution is to get really honest about what you're putting first. And then naturally, the wrong things will start to fall away and it won't feel bad. It'll feel right for you. So if you want help seeing where that growth might be driving decisions that faith was meant to anchor, leadership assessment is available to you. It's totally free. It's linked below in the description. You can also find it at luminaryleadershipco.com/style. It's about helping you see your own patterns clearly. Faith is not anti-growth. It's the foundation that actually makes growth sustainable, the right growth that aligns with your life. Before you set another goal, before you cast a new vision, go take my leadership style quiz. It's free and it is going to be so profoundly insightful for you. You're going to understand exactly how you're meant to lead, where you're getting bottlenecked and stuck, how to get unstuck and into your big next. Trust me, this is a no-brainer. You're going to have so much freaking clarity from this. You can grab it in the description or go to luminaryleadershipco.com/style.